Everyone, Dennis Caye here,
And his wife, Stephanie.
and we're taking your questions again. So we have several questions today related to the cost of living in Belize. So, of course, there's always pros and cons of living anywhere. But in your opinion, Steph, what are some of the things that people should take into consideration when they're trying to figure out how much money they need to live on Ambergris Caye?
Well, it depends. It's just like when you go on a vacation. Are you going to stay at the Ritz or are you going to stay at the local Airbnb? You can do both on the island or either. So I had a few things that I did very locally and I had a few things that I splurged on. So if we're talking like groceries, I have a little bit of a keenness for ice cream. And as you can tell, it would be hard to bring ice cream to an island. It has to be frozen the entire way. So it's expensive because, it takes a lot of people to get that to the island, but it's so good when you get it.
So her Ben and Jerry's habit almost had to take a second mortgage out of the house to subsidize her ice cream habit. So Steph's right. I mean, imagine this. It's made at Ben and Jerry's in the States. Then they have to get it down to the mainland of Belize by a refrigerated truck, by a barge. And then it has to come from Belize City out to Ambergris Caye and then put in the grocery store. So what I think it was plan on spending
$15 for a half gallon.
Half gallon or a pint?
It was like a Breyer's half gallon.
Okay.
Which was like about 15, like 30 Belize.
Maybe the Ben and Jerry's was a little more expensive.
There's local alternatives which are pricey but well worth it because D&E's makes wonderful frozen custard and it's a decent price for what the work that they put into it. They have different flavors, different sorbets every day. I would buy that by the pint. And it was a splurge because it's definitely, you can't eat ice cream every day or you're not supposed to.
Okay. I thought we were telling the truth.
Who eats, I don't eat ice cream every day. Not every day. Sometimes I only eat ice cream in the day. Anyways. So, if you're going to eat things like that, or Doritos, like I like Doritos. You do eat Doritos.
She's talking about name brand Dorito corn chips,
Doritos.
Name brand, yes.
So I would like nacho cheese Doritos. But I also like just corn chips. And Belizean corn chips are delicious and very cheap. So if I want to have the Frito-Lay brand of chips, I have the luxury, because there's amazing supermarkets, to get what I want. I got maraschino cherries, I got Chef Boyardee,
canned ravioli,
all sorts of stuff. My local grocers would be like, oh, what do you want? And then these couple months I would like canned ravioli, and then I would get into a phase where I was making my own ice cream, and I was doing pina colada ice cream with maraschino cherries, and so they would stock it for me, and then there'd be a ton of extra. So they're really helpful in getting what you want. They still have. So
this is the ice cream episode now.
Maraschino cherries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I made sorbet too.
So what you're seeing here is good because some people move away from their home country and they still like those creature comforts of home, those things that remind them of home. So they're American brands, right? They're canned ravioli, they're Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and that's fine because you can get those on Ambergris Caye. But again, those can be pricey, right? Mm-hmm. Now, compare those to the local brands, the locally made chips, the locally made salsa. Those prices are extremely cheap compared to what we would pay for other items in the United States.
And delicious because they hand make their own salsa, they hand make their own chips. It's amazing. So it's just more of like a crutch when you're used to something and you just want a little bit of home, then
right.
you can have it, which is awesome. But if you want ceviche, if you want all sorts of stuff, even with restaurants, sometimes you're in the mood for a nice steak. Sometimes you can't go wrong going to get a $5 plate of rice and beans with chicken and potato salad and fried plantain. Amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. So like for instance, for breakfast, sometimes I would go out and get you breakfast and bring it back, right?
Yeah, at Nery's.
So for instance, at Nery's, which has tacos, 3 tacos for a Belize dollar. So for 2 Belize dollars, which is $1 US, you get 6 of these little tacos, which is for me, it's fine. It fills me up, and for her the same. Or we can go to the Blue Water Grill, one of my favorite places, and get a breakfast for $14, $15 US, and sit there and enjoy the view as well. So the difference between $1 US and 15 US is, of course, obviously, it doesn't even compare. But if you're a tourist and you come down to Belize and you're going to gauge living there based on how you might live for those 7 or 10 days, you got to remember where the locals eat, where the locals shop, where the locals buy, and we consider ourselves as locals because we've been there so long. There's a big difference. Also, tell them about the difference about those who prefer AC and those who just prefer open the windows and let the breezes, as far as the cost difference there.
Well, yeah, it really depends. Growing up in Michigan, we like it cold. And we like to sleep cold. We even have the fan on. So our air conditioning bills would probably make a lot of Belizeans, jaws drop for sure. And they probably would hate it. A lot of times they would come to our house and we would turn the AC off because they would bring a sweater, or they would think that, they're getting dry sinuses and getting, dry throat because they're used to the wonderful tropical air.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. It depends on where you come from, what you like. We definitely overused the AC and enjoyed it. But
see, I figured out a long time ago that the colder it was at night, the more snuggling she did. So I kept that AC just turned down as low as it could go. But here's the thing, okay? So if you're looking at budget-wise, because the cost of living, to keep our 2-bedroom condo extremely cold, and I'm talking it was down in the 60s, 24/7. That bill is about $250 US a month. Now maybe you pay that where you are at the United States and Canada. I don't know. But our next door neighbors who opened all their windows during the day, let the beautiful ocean breezes come in, and maybe just at night kicked it on for an hour to cool it down, their bill was probably, $50-$60 a month, a lot less. So here's another thing I wanted to talk about is transportation. For example, how did most of our friends and family members get around on the island?
Well, I haven't had a driver's license in years because I had a Belizean driver's license, but I didn't have an American driver's license because I took my test in Belize, and it was for a golf cart. So I love driving a golf cart. It's fun. You get to see people. Every seat is a window seat. It's like having a convertible, but you can't have a convertible because you have the little top that shields you from the sun. It's so much fun. So most people had either bikes or they walked, which we did too sometimes. We didn't always have a golf cart, or rented a golf cart, and then eventually bought a golf cart.
Yeah, good. So again, this is the money issue. So when you come down to Belize, you can start off with a couple bikes. Those are going to be like $150 a piece.
Yeah.
Save up, maybe get yourself a used golf cart. So spend $4,000 or $5,000 US. Get a nice used gas golf cart. But then that's it. You think about what you spend in the United States with your car payment, your car insurance, filling up that tank every week.
You could fill up for nothing.
Yeah, some of our friends in the States are pumping $70-$80 a week into their gas tanks. We put $20 a month, if that,
maybe,
into our golf cart.
And when we didn't have a golf cart, we would just rent it when we wanted one. Yeah. So we'd rent it for a couple of days. There's always a local discount as far as restaurants too. You become a local, you will get a local discount.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So a lot of the restaurants give locals like 15-20% discount. The golf cart rentals do the same thing. So so you can save a lot of money living in Belize. And I know I talk about this in my real estate podcast too, about especially when Americans start to live as expats in other countries, their tax bracket goes way down because they're no longer paying any state tax, very little federal. So it can be a good move. Also, compared to where we're living at now, where she can order on Amazon, and if I showed you the second room, we have more Amazon boxes than I like to count.
These times are different.
Yeah, we're stocking up responsibly due to COVID-19.
Slowly, a little bit at a time.
So we have a little bit of a supply, but in Belize, they don't get Amazon shipments.
It's harder. I have gotten things. You have to really want them, and you have to jump through a couple hoops. One time I really wanted a Nancy Drew game. I play computer games, Nintendo Switch, things like that. So I said to my mom, please, can you order this for me? So she ordered it. She sent it through the post office. A guy on a bike came through and said, hey, this is for you. You need to pay duty on it. So I said, okay, sure. So I looked at it, and it seemed like an awful lot of duty for a $20 game. And I said, Mom, how much did you put this for? And she said, oh, your brother's games are always like $50. So I wrote that it was a $50 game because I had it sent to her house. So you do have to do the duty, but you know what? To me, it's worth it to get what I wanted. I played that game and loved it, and it was awesome. So not being able to get it directly to your house can be a pain in the butt, but there's a way around it. If you have people that I can find a way.
Yeah, you can find a way. So here's the thing on that, and actually this is a good thing. Belize is an excellent opportunity to strip away some of the frivolous buying, the stuff that you don't need.
Late night buying.
Yeah, late night buying when you're having a glass of wine, thinking, oh, this looks like a good deal. And it's not a good deal. It's never a good deal. But, so here's the thing. In Belize, they make their money and they stay open as a government and are able to provide services by taxes, just like any country in the world. But they charge extremely low property taxes, no capital gains taxes, very low income tax. So one of the main ways they make their money is by import tax. So for example, like Steph said, if she were to order $100 worth of stuff for the U.S., had it shipped down, Belize would often charge between 30, 40, or 50% duty on that. So it's going to cost us $100 plus, say, another $40, so $140 for the item. What we found is that we really didn't need to be ordering a lot of stuff on Amazon once we had our house set up.
And when I would go back to the States, I would bring empty suitcases or just with gifts, Belizean things to my family. And then I would pick up something that I couldn't get on the island. I don't know. They're rarities. Maybe I wanted a crock pot or a certain ice cream maker or something. And then I'm just honest with the officials. I, go in. They're like, oh, you live here? I say, yeah, sure. And then they look through your things. And I say, here's a crock pot. It cost me $30 or $50. And then usually it's below the amount of taxation. So I think I only had to pay once, and I think it was because we had an extra bottle of Absolute accidentally. Yeah,
so the customs officers are very, very fair.
Yeah.
And you do have your responsibility, your legal responsibility to pay your taxes. We recommend everyone pay their taxes.
Show them what you have.
But you show them what they have, and they come up with a very fair amount that you pay your tax on, and that's it. But so you don't have Amazon, but we found that a lot of things, especially once you're living in Belize a while, you start to not miss just a lot of the things that you thought you needed in the United States.
Going to the mall and you didn't know you needed it until you saw it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, kind of hungry for ice cream now.
Yeah, let's go on Amazon and order some. I don't have an ice cream maker. Oh.
I think we got some ice cream back in the freezer.
We do.
All right.
Who's going to eat it, though?
Both.
You, this guy.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for the question. Keep them coming in, and hope to see you in Belize soon.
Bye.